and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the 1989 film She-Devil. Frumpy overweight, I'm triggered. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Frumpy overweight wife and mother, Ruth Patchett, desperately attempts to please her accountant husband, Bob, who is trying to boost his business. After Bob meets narcissistic romance novelist Mary Fisher at a party, they begin an affair. Ruth, aware of the affair, confronts Bob while his parents are visiting. Bob leaves her. Angry Ruth vows to revenge him and Mary, which they are underplaying all of this. And I tend to use the Wikipedia summary just because it keeps me on track. If I talk about it on my own, we'll be here for hours. So it kind of helps me keep like a decent pace without digressing too far off. But let me give you the details about this little bit right here. So not only does Bob meet Mary Fisher at this party, Bob and Ruth meet Mary Fisher at this party. And not only that, but Ruth is a huge fan of Mary Fisher and her romance novels. So to put it in terms of modern day scenarios, this is the equivalent of you and your man going to see Megan Thee Stallion in concert. She pulls him on stage. He does not go home with you. They have an affair. And let me tell you how much that would piss me off, because why are you choosing him over me? But I digress. And this scene right here was so fucked up. Like literally, and let me tell you something. I was like, yo, but you can't make this up. It's campy, it's funny, it's a good movie. You should watch it whenever you get a chance. But basically, Mary Fisher, no, Ruth, excited to see Mary Fisher, spills her drink on her, and Bob is like, go fetch something to clean her up. Go get some baking soda and some club soda, whatever the fuck you use to get stains out to clean this up. And they start vibing while Ruth has left the room. So Bob offers to take Mary Fisher home. And he takes her, before he takes her home, this is the part that had me so fucked up. Before he takes her home, he drops his wife off. His wife is sitting in the back seat. Ruth is sitting in the back seat of the fucking car. Mary Fisher is up front. Bob is driving. And he's not dropping his wife off directly in front of their house either. He has her walking blocks to get to the damn house, and then takes Mary Fisher home where they have sex. Yeah. Crazy shit, but let me continue. Ruth, aware of the affair, confronts Bob while his parents are visiting, and Bob leaves her. Angry, Ruth vows revenge on him and Mary. And so there's a scene where Ruth is preparing this dinner, and this is like over a stint of time. So he's like in a full swing of an affair, and she's like holding down the house, holding down the kids while he's out lollygagging with Miss Mary Fisher. And she has dinner with his parents. Everything blows up. She's been struggling trying to prepare this dinner by herself because he's too busy out having a fling with the romance novelist. And so of course the dinner goes to shit. She's been trying to manage everything by herself. And he basically uses that as an excuse to leave. Ruth lists Bob's assets, representing his home, his family, his career, and his freedom, planning to cross off each one after destroying it. With Bob away at Mary's and the kids at school, she procures Mary's financial records and overloads the electricity of the house, destroying the house in a massive explosion. She leaves the kids with Mary and Bob and tells him that she will not be returning, which I don't want to say that is a powerful move right there, but it kind of is, because like I said, she was managing the kids and everything at the house, and I'm not one for a revenge plot at all. I'm the type where if I find out some bullshit is going on, I'm out the door. Fuck them kids, fuck you, fuck, no, I'm kidding. And it's not fuck them kids, but like, I feel like if anybody's in a relationship where they're being disrespected this blatantly, they should leave. I'm digressing. So she has these assets. She burns down the house. So now she basically puts the responsibility of the kids onto Bob and Mary while she goes and figures out what the fuck she's gonna do. And the whole point of that was for her to slowly begin to ruin his life and get him back. So the goal at the end of this was to get her husband back. Bob's second asset, his family, slowly deteriorates as Mary's selfish refusal to learn how to be a mother causes tension in her relationship with Bob and begins to interfere with her ability to write her newest romance novel. Mary's new novel is loosely based on her romance with Bob's, but her publisher Paula considers it strange and off-putting as there is a chapter about laundry. So with the movie, they kind of give us two perspectives. We have Ruth, who is currently behind the scenes sabotaging everything that's going on in Mary Fisher's mansion. Mary has now taken in Bob. She's taken in his kids, their dog, like the whole family basically, minus Ruth. So Ruth is slowly but surely sabotaging what they have. In doing so, Mary, like I said, is a romance novelist. So she's trying to, so whenever she's writing her book, she can't help but talk about the things that she's currently experiencing or make reference to what she's going through in her current life, which is why, like, I think it was, the name of the book was the Love in the Rent Cycle or something like that. Like, it was going downhill. She was straying away from what she normally does because she was trying to implement her current life as a stepmother. Ruth takes a job at a nursing home under the pseudonym Vesta Rose, where she befriends Francine, Mary's foul-mouthed, estranged mother, and arranges for her to return to Mary's life at an inopportune moment. She also meets Hooper, a nurse who has worked for the nursing home for 22 years and put aside her earnings for considerable life savings. Though Ruth horrifies Hooper by secretly switching the senior citizen sedatives and mundane routines for vitamin and caffeine pills and enriching activities, she gained Hooper's trust by introducing her to desserts. And let me tell you something. The lady who played Mary Fisher's mom, or Francine's character, was so fucking funny and so literally foul-mouthed. It was funny watching Mary Fisher's character, or Meryl Streep's character, Mary Fisher, like slowly unwinding, because she went from being like super soft spoken and like talking like this and being super soft to not playing with nobody. And it was so funny, and you could tell by her mom being there that her mom took her just over the top. And her mom was just pushing all the right buttons. So Ruth is working as under the name Vesta Rose, right, at a nursing home. So while Francine is away, she sabotages Francine's bed by pouring a urine pan in the bed. And the lady who runs the nursing home had made it a super big deal. She was like, anybody that wets the bed has got to go. After Ruth is fired from the home for dumping a urine-filled bedpan on Francine's bed to frame her as a bedwetter and prevent her return, she and Hopper form a partnership and start an employment agency for downtrodden women who have been rejected by society and need a second chance. Olivia, an attractive but ditzy young blonde, applies to the agency, and she is hired as Bob's secretary, where he starts sleeping with her at the office. This causes Mary to become lonely and desperate at night, which makes Bob rebuff her advances. When Olivia proclaims her love for Bob, he immediately dumps and fires her. Olivia reveals to Ruth that Bob is a fraudster who cons money out of his clients by skimming interest off their accounts, then transferring it to his offshore account in Switzerland. So for context, after Bob got with Mary Fisher, he took her on as a client, and not just her, but like all of her rich friends. So his business was able to excel and do really good. So he's doing really good for himself. And unfortunately, he got a little greedy and started taking a little more money off the top than what was necessary. And so Olivia, which is a poor innocent bystander, ends up telling this to Ruth. As Mary is being interviewed for a puff piece by People, her mother reveals embarrassing secrets about her that effectively destroy her career. So on top of the shitty book, her mom just hit she hit the final nail in the coffin. She reveals that Mary has a secret son, that she was very promiscuous when she was a teenager, and so this image that Mary had set up for herself, and that she kind of had everybody fooled, and how she had herself portrayed in the media, which wasn't very much media back then. Like, they had news in like newspapers and shit. There was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. So, she was able to rewrite her story, rewrite her upbringing, and her mom basically her mom undid all of that. But I digress. Olivia and Ruth hack Bob's computer to conduct a gigantic embezzlement. They report to the IRS. Ruth also mails pictures of Bob begging Olivia to marry. Intent on regaining control of her life, Mary forces her mother and Bob's children to behave, then throws an elegant party with her friends. And that, when Mary reached her limit, that was the funniest scene that there could have been. It was so funny. She just popped off on everybody. And it's like, damn, you can't get mad at her. I mean, you can get mad at her because she knowingly slept with the married man, But let me stop because I'm digressing. All goes well until state troopers appear with a warrant for Bob's arrest. Bob's lawyer bribes and corrupts a male judge to ensure a favorable verdict, and unknowingly informs Mary that Bob has been stealing from her account as well, causing her to leave Bob and sell her mansion. A woman who gained employment as a court clerk via Ruth's agency repays Ruth by reassigning Bob's case to an unbiased female judge. Bob is convicted of embezzlement and sentenced to 18 months in prison, thus destroying his fourth and final asset, his freedom. As Bob is taken away, he realizes that his greed, selfishness, and infidelity towards Ruth have left him with nothing. 16 months later, Ruth and her children visit a greatly reformed Bob, who is now on considerably more amicable terms with Ruth following their divorce and looking forward to catching up with his children after his upcoming release from prison. Ruth concludes that although people can change, as Bob has, not everyone does so. Mary has revived her career by becoming a more mainstream author and is at a book signing about a new tell-all book where she signs a book for Ruth but does not recognize her. Next in line after Ruth is a man who Mary clearly tries to flirt with, indicating she has not completely changed her ways. The film ends with Ruth smiling as she walks down a busy street in Manhattan, accompanied by women from her firm. So happy ending for Ruth. Aside from this movie being absolutely hilarious, I really like the conversation that it brings in regard to marriage, what marriage looked like during that time, which, not to make it sound like, you know, that's forever ago, but I do think that there has been a lot of changes how marriage is viewed in media and even in films. You have revenge movies similar to this that are from a more current time or it's more present day that I feel don't result in the woman wanting to stay with the husband. And after what I've just told you about Bob, is that somebody that you would want to be with? Is that somebody that you would go back to realistically and make things work? And initially I was like, okay, I was like, maybe she did all of that so she could save her family and so her kids could grow up with a two-parent household, which, you know, in certain situations is ideal, but it's not the worst case scenario. I thought that until you realize Ruth intentionally burned down the house that the kids were living in, burned all her shit, burnt all their shit, burned the house down. And I feel like essentially traumatized those kids by dropping them off to her ex-husband's. I don't know if they ended up officially getting a divorce, but basically how she does it is she drops the kids off in Mary Fisher's mansion, where Mary Fisher and Bob are caked up in the pool, you know, naked, and the kids walk into that. And I just don't think that the intention was to preserve the kids' childhood and to preserve their family, but I think it was solely to get her husband back. And even when she's monologuing, rarely does she mention, oh, I need to save my family and I want the kids to have this type of lifestyle. It's like, this bitch took my man and I'm gonna get him back, because she doesn't know him like how I know him. And she really did know him like the back of her hand, to where she was able to successfully sabotage everything that he had listed as his assets, his family, his career, his freedom, all of it. She was able to sabotage with what seemed to be, I don't want to say little to no effort, because that obviously took a lot of effort for her to do, but it was still not, it didn't take, I don't think it took her more than like a couple years to be able to achieve that. I don't even think it took more than a year for her to achieve that. They don't really give us much of a timeline as far as how long it takes for her to sabotage everything and to get him arrested and to get him, you know, back. We know he was in prison for 18 months, so that kind of gives us an idea. It was at least, you know, she invested at least a year of her time into this. And like I said, I feel like it's very telling how the construct of marriage is depicted in films then and how it is now, and I guess just relationships in general. For example, for a modern day revenge plot, I think of Legally Blonde. And Legally Blonde, obviously the stakes were much different. They didn't have a whole family, but she starts off with, I'm gonna get my man back, and then ends with, I don't want him back. I'm gonna become a lawyer, you know? And I think that's what you see in a lot of movies now that involve some sort of a breakup or separation, unless it's literally a Tyler Perry film. That's probably the only exception. But with this, it's kind of like she was very serious about getting her husband back, which is like, after all of that, why would you want him back? And that was the thing too, was that Bob didn't really fight for the kids either, or fight for custody, or try to figure out a custody situation. Like, he was perfectly content being MIA all the time. And it was so bad because it was in the kids' faces too. Like, even before everything had kind of hit the ceiling, or before shit kind of hit the fan, you could tell the kids knew that something was going on. Like, he was gone all the time, and it was like, it was supposed to be, oh, Mary Fisher's a new client, and now I have a bigger clientele, so I'm busy all the time. I think that that was a nice depiction as well when she dropped the kids off, because it's like, now this bubble is being bursted. Because realistically, there are things that are gonna have a strain on a marriage, which I have no experience in that. I am not married. I have no kids other than Daphne. It kind of depicts to why you shouldn't, one, why you should never settle in a marriage, especially a marriage or in a relationship in general. My fucking goodness. At one point, Bob makes a statement.
I never should have married her.
Robert, the children.
Nicholas.
And it's just like, why would you get with somebody that why would you want to be with somebody that isn't your dream person? And it's like, I get it. Like, at some point, and not at some point, some people choose settling instead of being or waiting for the person that they want to be with. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. However, I don't think that you should hold resentment towards the person that you've settled with and treat them poorly because they're not the person you want them to be. So honestly, that's why I don't be dating out here like that, because it's like, I see it so often, and that's something that I see present day too. Why waste somebody else's time when they could be with somebody that does love them and care for them and doesn't have any plans on moving should somebody else become available. There's always going to be somebody that's richer than you, that's prettier than you, that's more handsome than you, that's smarter than you. However, that should never impact the relationship that you have with your partner. And I think that's where people fuck up in relationships present day, is that they get with somebody for the sake of not being alone. They get with somebody for the sake of, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what the point of that is, because being alone isn't too crazy, at least in my opinion. It's not crazy enough for me to go and waste somebody's time, or for me to act selfishly enough to say, okay, the person that I want to be with isn't available to me right now, so I'm just going to be with this person. But just something to think about. I don't know. But that's all that I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful morning. And okay, that's it. Bye.